You know, I've been thinking a lot about the Retroid Pocket Flip 2. This is a great handheld, an awesome handheld. But now that the Thor is out, along with the Retroid Pocket G2, where does this fit in? Well, we're going to talk about that today. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss an episode of our awesome content. But I'm going to explore very good use cases for the Retroid Pocket Flip 2, including using this as your main Linux-based handheld for ARM handhelds. Anyways, let's dive in and begin. You know, Deadheads, I don't know if you know this, but Waco is the hometown of Dr. Pepper. Yes, in the 1880s, Dr. Pepper was invented, and we have an awesome Dr. Pepper museum. But I thought maybe I could outdo that a little bit. Maybe I could make a drink that, kids would love.
Gosh, that dead Fred knows how to quench my thirst.
Dr. Fred, quench like a legend.
Yeah, kid, man, you must be really thirsty. But I would say, Dr. Fred, that is a hell of an idea. Anyways, guys, welcome back to the channel. Or welcome to the channel for the first time, Deadheads. Today, we're going to take a look at the Retroid Pocket Flip 2 and why I'm keeping it and using it as a Linux handheld. So I'm often asked, now that you have the Thor, why did you keep your Retroid Pocket Flip 2? And the answer may seem counterintuitive. We're talking about two devices that are in a clamshell form factor that run a high-level emulation that can play mostly PS2, although the Thor with the better CPU is going to definitely play better. But if I actually had the Thor Lite with the same Snapdragon 865, would I still keep my Retroid Pocket Flip 2? And the answer is yes, for one simple reason. And that reason is it is currently the most capable, that I have anyways, playable ARM CPU for Linux. Now, yes, you can go to the Odin 2 and put Linux on it, but I already have the Retroid Pocket Flip 2. And so I'm going to talk today about what you can do with this if you find yourself in a situation like me that has both the Thor and the Flip 2 and it seems redundant. But let's dive in and talk about the Retroid Pocket Flip 2 and where it fits now in the hierarchy of handhelds. Now let's start with the Retroid Pocket Flip 2 overview. So this is a device that released in early somewhat 2025, and it's funny to think about because we have so many clamshells, so many choices now. But when the year began, we basically had the 35XXSP and the Powkiddy V90 along with the original Retroid Pocket Flip. So there wasn't that many choices, and look at where we're at now, especially with something like Thor or Ian Neo's dual screen. But this is a clamshell that is in a bit of a different form factor than the original Flip came in. They moved the sticks up top, and this has been a bit of a contentious sort of situation for some people. I find it to be way more comfortable holding it, having the sticks up top, but I know there's a subset of gamers out there that really wish it had remained on the bottom. One of the things that made this really special is that it followed the formula that the Retroid Pocket 5 launched with, which is the same beautiful OLED screen, this 5.5-inch, albeit 60 hertz, but beautiful OLED screen here. So we have the same screen that we found in the Retroid Pocket 5, but now in this clamshell form factor that easily stores and protects. Now, this thing is also pretty pocketable, although pocketability is a little bit of a misnomer here with the real size of this. But the fact that you can shut it and keep it shut is really a bonus thing to it. Now, to review, there were some problems with this. Some of the handheld colors of this started to have cracks in the hinge right here. And so it was a problem. Retroid has tried to address it, and this colorway, to my knowledge, has not seen anybody have a crack in it, which is one reason why I went with this colorway, even though I liked the GameCube colorway originally. But to say the least, it launched with a Snapdragon 865, so you had everything we knew about the Retroid Pocket 5, along with the question of this hinge and this clamshell form factor. I did give a review of this. I did have a few criticisms, but overall I really enjoyed playing and using the Retroid Pocket Flip 2. Now, once that I learned that Ion Neo and then right afterwards Thor was being launched, I quickly thought, I love this. I thought this might be handheld of the year, but now I had a choice to make. And so since I like this quite a bit, it did have a few issues, but overall it was a very fun to play handheld. I decided to install Linux, and that's right, there's a whole world of Linux going on in this handheld, in the Retroid Pocket 5, even in the Odin, and we have a lot of excitement that may be missed. Now, if you're new to this, you may be wondering, well, what is the advantage of Linux over Android? Okay, this is going to come down to a lot of personal choice, a lot of what you choose is important to you. But one of the things that is super awesome about Linux is that it has port master support. And I have essentially made this my sort of de facto port master machine, because really with my more higher powered machines, I want those on Android because I want to do WinLater, Game Native, and those things. So this kind of is a good spot to be with this CPU, because it's going to do a lot of what port master can do, probably everything port master can currently do. The other benefit to this is having Pico 8, and Pico 8 is another awesome indie developed sort of ecosystem that you can get into. Now, let's talk about the different types of Linux that you can currently get on the Retroid Pocket Flip 2, as well as some other handhelds with this same CPU, and kind of just talk about what they can do. So the first one we're going to talk about, and what I'm currently using, is Rocknix. As of the posting of this video, the current stable build is from May 2025. However, there are plenty of nightly builds you can test out. Now, I didn't have a great experience with testing out the nightly builds. I'm a little bit kind of impatient, and I'm not really a super tinkerer that knows how to do things, so your mileage may vary. But one of the things that's great about Rocknix is that it's sort of set up out of the box to really set you up for success. This is one of the reasons why many gamers will prefer Linux over an Android-based system, because Linux is a more consoleized-like experience. That does limit some of the things you can do, but it gives you a lot of choices. The next choice that you currently have for a Linux distribution is Batocera. Now, Batocera is a well-known set of emulation that began life in the PC world and has spread into many different types. There are offshoots like RetroBat, there's Nully, which is a fork of it for some of the lower end Linux handhelds, but Batocera is sort of like the OG of it. And it is a very good curated, though it's a little more tightly curated experience for you. Some of the things you may have learned and gotten used to using is going to be a little bit less available to you, because they're trying to give you that consoleized experience, which is just plug and play. This is really great for beginners, and it as something that exists on the SD card, you want to make sure that you get a good quality SD card. This is the other fundamental thing that is pretty cool about this. You can switch between different OSs if you want, because you do have the ability to flash these on SD cards and run them from SD cards. So that's another big bonus to doing this. It's just a lot of flexibility. But Batocera, again, is just a little more curated. I find it to have a little more restrictive nature, but it has, again, a huge community, a lot of people you can interact with, and a lot of ability for you to, again, dive in and try to see what you can push your handheld from. Now, all that being said, if you just use this with the base Android that they ship it with, it's still a great device. Now, this is going to come down to my next section. We know that the Retroid Pocket Flip 2 exists. It's a single screen. Thor came out. Now, what about price? Because we have a handheld, the Thor, that has the same CPU called the Lite, if it does ship, that has the 2 screens, and then you have this. So where does this fall? So let's talk about price right now, where I think this should be in pricing. Hey guys, sorry to interrupt the video, but I wanted to take a moment to talk about today's sponsor, AliExpress. And specifically, I wanted to talk about the Anycubic Cobra 3 V2 printer. This is an amazing printer that AliExpress provided to us, and I want to share with you guys just how amazing this printer is. Since it's a bed slinger, it is much better for beginners with less maintenance overall. As you can see here, it beautifully prints all the prints I needed, and it even comes with an Ace Pro box, which allows you to use up to 4 filaments at the same time. This means you can create beautiful multicolor prints. I also wanted to point out that we're having a big sale right now with the AliExpress 11/11 sale. So be sure to check out the codes below so you can get the best deal on this printer or other printers on their shop. Again, we want to thank AliExpress for sending over the Anycubic Cobra 3 V2 combo, a 3D printer that I've found to be an excellent starting point for beginners to make all kinds of wonderful projects come to life. Anyways, back to the show. At the time of this filming, the Thor Lite is priced at $249. However, it is marked as out of stock. We don't have updated information from AYN if it was a limited run for those that ordered it, if it's going to continue. The price is very favorable. At $249, you are looking at a dual screen handheld with a Snapdragon 865 versus the single screen Retroid Pocket Flip 2 with the same Snapdragon 865 but a single screen. Now, going on single screens, if you're going to say a single screen, the Thor does have a 6-inch screen with a 120 hertz panel, and the Retroid Pocket Flip 2 is stuck at a 60 hertz with a 5.5-inch screen. So there's more to it than just the Snapdragon being the same. You are getting a more improved screen, even on a single screen, from playing that. So then what is the price of the Retroid Pocket Flip 2 now? So on Retroid's site, which you can usually find better deals sometimes, but I'm going by the prices on the official site. So the Thor Lite, which is not currently being offered for sale, is out of stock, is $249. And then the Retroid Pocket Flip 2 with the Snapdragon 865 is $209. So we're talking about a $30 or so difference between the two. And is that $30 difference worth a 1/2-inch bigger screen, 120 hertz, and a second screen? And I would say yes, it is. The proposition for this makes it very hard for Retroid, I think, to compete at that. So I think the price of the Retroid Pocket Flip 2 really should be somewhere more in the price range of $170 to $180. I think that's really where it should be and sit. I think Thor Lite should continue to be offered at that $250 price range. I think giving that kind of space makes a lot more sense. And I think that, Retroid should have enough volume to get the price down to it. However, I'm not part of their business operations. But if you ask me, a $180 Retroid Pocket Flip 2 makes a lot of sense when you use it for a Linux machine, especially a powerful Portmaster Linux machine. So that's kind of the thing that I've found. I already had it. If I didn't have the Flip 2, I probably wouldn't reach out and buy it. I would probably maybe go with the G2 for my Linux machine, although we don't know if we're going to have Linux on the G2, but it would be interesting. Or the original Retroid Pocket 5, which we do have Linux support for. So that is why I am keeping the Retroid Pocket Flip 2, and I'm not going to sell it, and I'm actually using it. I am playing a game called Caden's Quest on it right now, which is a lot of fun. There are a lot of games that are still to be explored. There's so many games, and Portmaster adds new games daily. So there you have it. Let me know what you think. Do you think that there should be a separate handheld for Linux and a separate handheld for Android? Does that make sense to you, or do you think I'm crazy for doing that? I want to hear your honest comments. Anyways, remember to hug your loved ones and love your hugged ones, because tomorrow is never promised. We'll see you next time, Deadheads. Dead Fred out.